Hi, my name is Nicole D. Miller, and I am an author. I have 3 books self-published: How to Overcome Heartbreak, Recovering from Misguided Love, How to Overcome Heartbreak, Stories That Heal, and Stories for the Urban Soul. All of these books are available on my website, NicoleDMiller.com. I also have an ebook where you can download. It's called Self-Publishing 101, Everything You Need to Know from One Author to Another.
Well, welcome to the Maslow Show. I have a very special guest, a good friend, a sister of mine, Nicole D. Miller. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to be able to feature you on the platform. We've done a show together in the past with the Saturday show, which feels like a very long time ago. But it was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In 2021?
Yeah.
But here we are. You have a lot more storing up, right? A lot of things happening, and I'm super excited to feature you as one of our authors for our Meet the Author series.
Well, I'm excited to be a part of this event. I'm very proud of you as well, so thank you for having me and including me.
Yes, absolutely. I can't do an author event and not have you some way a part of, right?
I agree. No, I'm just kidding.
It is funny because when I did my initial post to who do you know any authors? Nicole's like, me, duh, and that's just the type of relationship I have. Girl, I already got you down. We got you, okay?
Don't forget about me.
We need a few others, but you have just been making huge strides in the author space, right? And I feel like you're not just uplifting yourself in this spaces, you're also uplifting other voices, which is what we're all about in Maslow. So why don't you just share a little bit about what you have going on? We're going to talk about your book, we're going to talk about your book on the way, and all that good stuff. But why don't you just share a little bit about what you have going on now?
Yeah, so a lot of my time is spent working on my current novel. And it's funny because I actually started my novel when I was finishing up Urban Stories. So I was simultaneously writing both at some point. So that was kind of crazy. But yeah. I'm still working on my novel. I'm hoping to get it done by the summer and get it released by the fall. So there will be a pre-sale available hopefully by the summer. So back in 2012, I started a blog called BetterThanWine.net. It is actually still popping. In that blog, I just shared my heart, my faith, my life, my friends, everything that was important to me. One particular day, I wrote a post called How to Overcome Heartbreak, Recovering from Misguided Love. That post generated so much of a response and feedback around the world of people of different races, social classes, ethnicities, and they could relate. So many people resonate with heartbreak. So that inspired me to write the book, How to Overcome Heartbreak, Recovering from Misguided Love, which I self-published in 2014. The following year, I self-published How to Overcome Heartbreak, Stories That Heal. I shared more of my own journey and where I was at that point in time, but then I interviewed 7 women and 4 men, and I shared their stories as well, so that other people could find themselves relating to any one of those stories. I took a break from writing, and I did do a little bit of short stories and did some workshops and got into fiction a little bit, but I was in a season of grief and recovery and didn't write for about 3 years. When the pandemic hit, I picked back up those short stories, added to them, and published Stories for the Urban Soul in May of 2021. What I realized when I did start my blog was that I love stories. So years ago, I can remember even just reading slave narratives, these heavy experiences of people in my background and my ancestry. But I love learning about people's lives through storytelling, and so that's why I gravitated to blogging. First I was reading blogs and I started my own. One of the ways that I learn is through reading about people's journeys, and so that's what I love about writing these stories, whether it's nonfiction or fiction. And even in the Bible, I fell in love with the Old Testament. All of those stories, it's real people having real experiences with God, and God's love just manifesting through them. And that's my goal with my writing. So writing for me is worship. It is a time of intimacy with the Creator. I feel like we are co-creating, and it's an opportunity to share with the world truths that I've experienced in my real life, my friends have, my community, even if it's through fiction. So I just think it's a powerful way to help other people learn and grow through storytelling. And Jesus did the same thing through parables. So I just think today I'm writing modern day parables.
Awesome. And then obviously you keep yourself busy with the blog release.
Yes.
You're at every event the city has to offer. You're popping up the network, you can't make it up. You're just, because it takes time, right? You have to cultivate relationships as well in the midst of all of this. So you have to stay in a creative space. How do you stay in like that creative space?
Yeah.
For folks who may not, know you personally.
Yeah, I think for me, it is that intimacy with God, because when I'm creating, I feel like I'm co-creating with Him.
Wow.
And so when I enter in that space with Him, then it just flows and there's no strife, right? But I am very sensitive to how my energy needs to be divided each day, because I wear a lot of hats. I'm also a bookkeeper. I do admin work and tax prep. So I get a lot of my admin stuff done through in the beginning of the day and whatever meetings are needed that day. And then I filter in the creative space, because I am marketing and doing a lot of promo and branding in this stage. I am on social media a lot. I am hitting up networking events. I am in the know of what's going on.
Yeah.
So I make it a priority, but it's usually the admin stuff that is first, and then the creativity comes next. And if I can get to my novel, that's a good day, because that's also a part of what I'm when I'm releasing my creativity. But you mentioned the blog. So the blog is now a thing every Monday, where for 8 years out of the 10 years that I've been writing, it was never consistent. So within the last year, it's been every Monday, y'all gonna get a blog post at 7 a.m. Now you're gonna get a newsletter every month where you can learn and see what I'm doing, what's happening, and how you investing your time, space, energy, money in me is rewarding. It's coming to pass. So all of those things are happening, but the creativity, it's just kind of the season I'm in, and making it a priority.
Right. And Nicole is at the point now, and I feel like I can say this because I've been first of all, I've watched your growth, right? We've known each other for, I don't know, maybe not to date anything, but a long time, and see the growth, I feel like you're now in a position that you see yourself as a brand, like what you have is a brand. And for some people, that can be very difficult to actually see themselves and what they're creating as something that's tangible as a brand. And now I feel like the launching of that, and you've already launched, right? But the sustainability of that and being able to be having that consistency, because you're like, okay, what I've seen in others, I also possess. Yeah. And I think it's taken time for you to get to this point. But now that you're here, it's like, you better watch out, because it's getting ready to 100% we always talk about it's about to blow up, because the takeoff has already occurred. So the blow up of that is just wow.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that. And when I look back at my journey, I never saw myself as an author. I never saw myself as a writer. I remember dating a guy who would refer to me as the author, and at that point I had 2 books out and I still didn't see it. Right? But a lot of that had to do with my business background. I went to school for accounting. I have my MBA in accounting. So I was more one-track minded. And when I prayed about it, I felt like God was saying do both, right? But I wanted to be I was tunnel visioned. I wanted to be boxed in. I was trying to box myself in. It was my own mindset.
Right.
And I did go out there with the books, and I did market and produce more fruit than I even realized at the time, because I wasn't keeping track of marketing analysis and numbers. I look back now, I'm like, okay, you was really doing something, you just didn't know. But I wasn't all in, because I still didn't see writing as a sustainable career. I saw it as I'm being obedient, this is a side gig.
Right.
So last year, getting to that space of, all right, I'm about to give it my all.
This is something bigger than
Here
I
thought. We go. This is more than just writing. Let's do this. This is a career. This is something bigger. And I just know what God was showing me was when I made my initial website, it was built around How to Overcome Heartbreak, which is the name of my first 2 books, so the How to Overcome Heartbreak series. Then he was just telling me, this is Nicole D. Miller, the brand. You're going to be doing more than just these 2 books. There's going to be more books. Yes. And it is about the brand. And so that's when everything took shape for me. But it was around last year where I got really consistent with the blogging, implemented the newsletter, upgraded, did a whole new website, did new pictures, and got really involved with networking and engaging. And I'm still learning and growing. Thankfully, to folks such as yourself who are, hooking me up and helping me with my marketing skills. But I think for me it was a mindset shift, because I was taught a certain way in society and I thought a certain way, and I needed to think out of the box.
Right. So and I also believe this book gave you maybe the confidence of, okay, I didn't just share my own story. I'm sharing, this is a next level of a book, right? So why don't you go ahead and share what the Stories for Urban Soul is all about, and
Right.
how folks can, learn more about it.
So the difference with Stories for the Urban Soul is like it's my first book project where I'm infusing Black culture and my faith. Those are like the two loves, right? And I don't know why I never thought to write about those things. It's like once it dawned on me that I could write about what I love, it's like, duh, where have I been? So basically, these short stories are doing that. They're sharing stories of characters who are going through a variety of issues, right? So parenting, heartbreak, social injustices. There's some young college life stuff in there, domestic violence, like some heavier topics, but in a down-to-earth, relatable way, where I'm introducing God's love, faith, friendships, relationships, sisterhood, all the stuff that my life and my community is made up of, but enjoyable, heartfelt, encouraging. I'm always evolving as a writer. But writing this novel has taken it to a whole other level. Creative writing is its own thing. I never saw myself as a novelist or a creative writer. So when I first wrote the first two books, that was easier. It was like, you just share your story. With this novel that I'm working on, it is so much editing. You're going back. You have to make sure your plot is right. Your characters are fully developed. There are literary techniques to be used. My editor ripped it to shreds, in my opinion, even though she said it was really good. But there's just so much work involved. So I feel like as a writer, I'm always learning, and there's different facets of the craft. Like I said, nonfiction versus fiction is totally different. But yeah, I'm always taking workshops. I'm involved in members groups. I have mentors. I'm in a community of writers that I can learn from. So I'm building a world.
Yes.
I'm building a world of relatable, down-to-earth people who love God. So
right. Real life stuff, things that we also need, right? That community of sisterhood, brotherhood, etc. So, and you also, I want to talk about it too much, but you also are launching a publishing agency, right?
Yes.
Because we have to talk about it, right? Because this is Meet the Author series. You got to come all the way. I'm super excited to share more about my story in partnership with you, and you being the official publisher of the book I'm releasing next month.
Yes.
And being able to do the event together, it's just like full circle. I think like God just works in such what's the right word? Miraculous word, like a way. It's just like so beautiful to come full circle with you as a sister in this space to say, okay, wow, we really do. You can do something on your own, but to do something with others and to have it sustain and grow and have the impact that I believe this is going to continue to have just makes it so much more special.
Yeah, and I just think it goes back to how we don't see the purpose of the connections, right? Like how long we've known each other, but God put us together knowing ahead of time what we were going to accomplish together. Yeah. But it's just not being revealed in the season. Yeah. So with the publishing company, it's just been, that's a whole nother level to me, right? Yeah. It just seems so out there. But I look back at my journey and I'm like, okay, I started with a blog post. And now I'm building a publishing company. Right. But it's been a step-by-step process. And I told you this earlier, like my first book, 60 pages. You know, it's like blog post to 60-page book to now 300-something page book to a novel to helping people like yourself publish their own stories.
It's supernatural. Like,
I know.
You can't make it up. You really can't.
You can't. And I've shared this with you before, thinking, I can't do this. This is too big. I would have drugged my feet, pushed it back on the back burner. This is like out of my league, right? But again, understanding who you are eternally and seeing yourself as a king, as a queen, as a ruler, as we were originally created to be in the earth. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm like, I can't, and it's because we're seasonal people, right? So we know we're in different times and seasons throughout our lives, and I just feel like we're coming out of a season and getting ready to enter a season that's just gonna blow like our minds. And so I'm really excited to, do the event with you and feature your story on a not so much a larger platform, but a more of an intimate space, in person, right? The event's going to be in person. People can kind of, you can do your book signing afterwards. People can learn more about you as an author, but a creative writer, but also as a faith-based woman in this space that's like, I'm not leading this on my own, and that's like something I feel like we talk about often. And so I'm super blessed to be able to share space with you, and I'm even more blessed to work with you because I personally don't have a lot of we called it kingly businesses that you walk out with other people. But I think it's going to continue to be more common now that we're really walking in that purpose and that destiny. So I want to make sure if there's any other things that you would like to share before we wrap up our episode, but also folks can tune into the live event coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah, one thing I always forget to share when I talk about urban stories is that my personal story is also in this book.
Oh, yes.
The last story is called Nikki because each story is titled after the character. So Nikki's the last story. That was a story that was near and dear to my heart. It was an opportunity for me to share some things that happened to me that were a big deal during that season through this fictional character, Nikki, such as her mom getting sick, and her being fired from her job or almost fired. Some things were changed in the story, but just some heavy hitting things, and it was very therapeutic for me to write that. And I always forget to tell people, like, oh yeah, I'm in that book too. So
check me out. I'm in a chapter 2.
Yeah, if you nosy and you want to know more about me.
Yes.
But I think growing as a writer and continuing to publish my own work, but helping other authors. So right now on my website, you can get a one-on-one coaching session with me. I can listen to where you're at, give you tips on how to get you to the next stages of self-publishing. So definitely looking towards helping help other people get their books and their works out there, and mentoring other people and coaching other people in this field. It's really about expansion for me in this next season.
No, I love it. And thank you again for joining this episode. And I'm really, like I said, I'm just excited and grateful to be able to walk this journey out with you and to continue to see the impact, the growth, the inspiration that comes from us just opening up and being vulnerable and transparent in these times that are difficult, right, amongst us in our communities and the world around us. It's just like we're living in some very, like, some say interesting, some say serious, some say last. Some, there's a word for everybody, but I definitely believe these type of relationships that we have is the encouragement to keep going, have the faith, have the hope that you are having an impact and you are walking out God's purpose on earth.
Yeah, and I'm in awe, of course, of you. I esteem you highly, and Masere More Light is all about releasing the light in the city, releasing the light in these communities. I think that's why we were positioned in this time for such a time as this, because there is so much darkness, there is so much heaviness. We walked through our own, and for us to still stand here and praise God and rejoice and have faith and have hope is a miracle, is a testimony that we've been given, that we can give away to others, whether it's through writing or speaking or social media or these platforms. Wherever we go, we release that truth, and so it's an honor.
Yes, likewise. So I want to make sure people know your website, so they want to get on that newsletter, they want to purchase a book. Apparel going to come soon as well. Got to make sure we get the apparel going, but just for folks know, like, what's your website so they can tune in more?
Yes, so you can tune in at NicoleDMiller.com.
Awesome. Short, sweet, and simple. You guys have been tuned into the Masere Show featuring Nicole D. Miller. Not a stranger to our platform, but a special guest. So thank you guys for tuning in, and more from us soon. Thanks. I'm very, very humbled to offer up our platform to showcase and highlight the amazing accomplishments that she's doing.